Hey everyone. Welcome to our lesson on XY intercepts. Okay, so what we did is we just learned how to graph a line using a t-chart. So now we're going to condense that and we're going to learn how to graph a line using a t-chart, but it's going to be a smaller t-chart with only two values. And these are X and Y intercepts. So let's start. If you make sure you have your notes out, we're going to go through these together. You're going to fill these in. And then you'll be able to understand hopefully what XY intercepts are by the end of this video. So intercepts, what is an intercept? What does that even mean? So if you've heard the word intercept or even like intersect, it's kind of the same thing. It's going to cross something. So intercept means like, think about an interception in like football, right? So someone has thrown the ball and someone else intercepts it. So it basically crosses something. It crosses another path of somebody else. And so the x-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. So on our graph over here, and we look at this line that is given, I know it's a little bit hard to read, but if you look at the line that's given, your x-intercept, so here's our line, the x-intercept is right here. Okay, this where this pink little dot is, and that's at 3, 0. I know you can't read it very well, but 3, 0, because it is crossing the x-axis. That's where the line crosses that pink line I'm drawing right now. So that is called the x-intercept. The y-intercept, hopefully we can figure that out, right? It would be instead of where it crosses the x-axis, it's where it's crossing the y-axis. So this line over here, if you look at where the line is crossing, so I'm drawing the blue line, here is my y-axis. It is crossing right here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. Okay, so those would be my two intercepts. So we're going to learn how to identify them from an equation and then graph our line using just 2 points instead of 5 that we've been working on. So this hopefully will be a little bit easier for you in the long run. All right, so finding intercepts. So let's think about this. If you look at our x-intercept, so I'm going to write our x-intercept was 3, 0. Okay, wait. Let me back that up. This one says the y value on the x-axis is 0. Okay, so if we have 3, 0, okay, every single point on the x-axis, the y is 0. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's what that's telling us right here, and it's going to be important in a moment. So every single point that is on this x-axis, the pink one, it's 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0. So what do they have in common? The y value is 0. That is what this is telling us. And so then in the opposite direction, the y-axis, every single point on the y-axis, it is 0, something else. So our intercept was 0, 6, but I could go up the line 0, 7, 0, 8, 0, 9, 0, 10. So hopefully you're seeing that pattern that it is 0, 6. So here's the definition just explaining. X-intercept is always something, 0, and the y-intercept is always 0, something. Okay, so keep that in mind. We're gonna need that in a second. Okay, so how do we find them if we're trying to look them? If we are given an equation, so we weren't given the graph like this, we're given an equation, how do we find them? Let me scroll down here and come to the examples and we can work on this. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to do a substitution. If you can see here, we're going to make a t-chart. Okay, so a t-chart, and we're going to plug one where y is 0 and one where x is 0. So there's an example up here for you to look at, but I'm going to kind of skip down here and actually show you in real time what is happening right here. This is what they're doing, but I'm going to show you down here what they did, if that makes sense. So these are the same problems, but I'm going to redo it down here so you can see what it's going to look like in our t-chart. Okay, so first step is we're going to find the x-intercept. So to find the x-intercept right here, okay, we know that y is always 0. So that is right here in our chart, the y is 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our equation, 2x plus 7y. This is the line that we have. So the cool thing is you don't have to solve for y here. You can just plug and go. So we know that y is 0. So if we want to find the x-intercept, we're going to plug in y as 0 into our equation. So that y is going to go away, and I'm going to write 7 times 0 equals 0, and then still bring down everything. So 2x plus 7 times 0 equals 0. Okay, so what happens there is I have, oh, I'm sorry, it's equal to 28. Wonder, it's like confuse myself here. No wonder it's equal to 28. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is equal to 28. Let me erase this. Okay, so what I have here, 2 times 0 gets to cancel, right? Because that turns out to be 0. So what I'm left with is 2x equals 28. And then it's just a simple solve for x problem. So I would divide by 2, and I would get that x is 14. So now I plug that 14 into my chart here. And so my first coordinate on my graph would be 14, 0. So now let's try it with the y-intercept. So the y-intercept, I'm going to, again, use the same equation, but this time, instead of plugging in y equals 0, I'm going to plug in x equals 0. Okay, so this time you're going to take your x value of 0 and plug it in here. So we're going to take our 0. So take the x out. We're going to put a 0 in there. So 2 times 0 plus 7y equals 28. So then what happens is my 2 cancels out because 2 times 0 is 0. So that cancels. And so now I'm left with, all I have here is 7y equals 28. So I divide by 7. And then I get y equals 4. So now I'll put that in my t-chart over here. And so my second point on my line is 0, 4. So if we were to go, which we're not going to do that right now, but if I were to go into my graph, okay, so if here's my XY axis and I were to pretend graph this, I would go to 14, 0, which is somewhere over here, 14, 0, probably right there. And then 0, 4 is probably somewhere right there. Connect the dots and boom, I have my line. Okay, so that is how we graph using X and Y intercepts versus a t-chart. Okay, let's keep moving on to our next page. And let's see what other things that we have. Okay, so let's look at page number 2 here. All right, so now you get to try filling in the X and Y intercepts for the following linear equations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 for you, and then you are going to do 2 and 3 on your own for homework. Okay, so we're going to go over this one more time so you can see what it looks like, and then you're going to do 2 and 3 for homework. And then we will come down here and I'll show you one more time how to graph it, and then you will finish also this for homework graphing. All right, so let's go over this again. So all we're doing here is filling in the chart. We are not graphing, just filling in the chart, no graphing. Okay, so we'll start with, first, you can go in either order, it doesn't matter, but in the t-chart, y equals 0. So I would rewrite this. Okay, so 3x plus 2y equals 6. Okay, I'm going to plug in 0 for my y. So this is going to go in as a 0. Okay, so plug in 0 for my y. That's going to end up canceling, right? Because 2 times 0 is 0. So you're left with 3x equals 6. And then you'll divide by 3 and you will get x equals 2. Okay, so put that in your t-chart. That is your first intercept. Next, same thing, but now we're going to put in our x equals 0. So 3 times 0 instead of 3x plus 2y equals 6. So my 3 times 0 cancels. I'm going to divide by 2. And then I'll get y equals 3. And that's going to go in here. And so I have now my t-chart completed. All right, so for homework, you are going to work on numbers 2 and 3 and come to class ready to talk about those. You're going to work on 2 and 3, fill in that t-chart. All right, let's skip ahead to the second page now, which I already talked about, but we're going to go over it one more time. So we're going to graph now this line by using the intercepts. Okay, so we'll start with step 1. So it says first we need to find the x and y intercepts. So my equation this time is x plus 2y equals 4. So I'm going to use that. x plus 2y equals 4. And then first I'll plug in y is 0. So x, I'll do it over here on this side. So x plus 2 times 0 equals 4. Well, 2 times 0 cancels out. There's nothing in front of the x, so x is just equal to 4. I don't have to do any division that time. That was nice and simple. All right, now let's do the y-intercept. So the y-intercept, we'll plug in x as 0, so that'll be 0 plus 2y equals 4. The 0 obviously cancels. We'll divide by 2, and so I get y is 2. Okay, so put that in my t-chart. So here are my 2 coordinate points. I only have to plot 2. So plot 2 coordinate points. So 4, 0 will come over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that is my first intercept of 4, 0, and then 0, 2. So plot the points and now connect them. Remember, this is a line because there are points. There's other points that goes on forever and ever. So make sure you put arrows. This is not a segment. This is a line. Okay, and that is how you graph. All right, now last thing we're going to do, and then I'm going to, the rest of it you will again do for homework. So last thing I'm going to do is show you here. So just in case they ask you this. So it says plot the points and connect them, finding intercepts from a graph. So we kind of talked about this already, but let's go through this. So in case they give you a picture, to find the x-intercept, remember the x-intercept is where does it cross on the axis. So here's your x-axis right here. Draw that in, it's coming in blue. So here's your x-axis. The line is crossing right here. Okay, the line is crossing right there. That is at 2, 0. So your intercepts are always a coordinate point, not a single point. It should be an x, y form for your intercepts. Then our y-axis, y-intercepts coming in purple. So here's my y-axis, and we want to see where is the line crossing. It's crossing right there. So make a big purple dot for you so you can see that. That's the y-intercept. That is at 0, -1. Okay, so again, in coordinate form, when they ask you for the intercepts, they need to be in coordinate form. Okay, so lastly, you're going to finish up this packet then for homework. So you're going to do, down here, there's 3 graphing problems for you to try and also graph. So find the intercepts for A, B, and C, and then go ahead and graph those. And that is your homework. Let me know if you have any questions.